But looking back now, that was the moment everything started to shift. That's a quote from a man named Daniel, and honestly, it sends a bit of a chill down your spine, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because his story starts so normally. We're talking about a CFO, Daniel, living this quiet life out in suburban Denver, married 20 years to Sarah, a couple of teenagers, just, ordinary.
Totally ordinary. Until this one moment, this one shift, spirals into something incredibly strange. We're diving into hidden truths, unexpected betrayals, and a reality that gets much, much weirder than you could probably imagine.
So Daniel has this quiet life, appreciates his routine, his family. He also has a thing for antiques, objects with a bit of history. Keep that in mind.
Right, the antiques. Okay, so it's his 44th birthday. Seems normal enough. His colleagues get him this really cool gift, actually, an antique record player.
Yeah, one of those old hand-cranked ones with the big brass horn.
Yeah.
A real find for someone like Daniel.
And it comes with this little card from someone named Vicky. She's the niece of the collector who owned it. And she says, hey, I've got a bunch of his old records. You can have them for like $20.
Seems like a nice little bonus, right? Just adds to the thoughtful gift.
Exactly. Then that evening, Sarah and the kids spring their gift on him. And it's a big one. A classic 1956 Chevy Bel Air.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a car he'd admired for ages. And the plan was, he and his son could restore it together. It felt incredibly thoughtful, really showed Sarah's affection, or so it seemed.
A really significant gesture. Sounds like a great birthday.
It did. Daniel even noted later that Sarah was, well, unusually affectionate that night. Kind of like they were earlier in their marriage. A real spark.
A reconnection moment.
But that quote, everything started to shift. That feeling was already there, maybe just under the surface, like a tremor before the quake.
So the day after his birthday, Daniel heads over to Vicky's antique shop to grab those records she mentioned.
Right, the $20 records.
Vicky's friendly, tells him a bit about the record player. Apparently, he came from this old mansion outside Austin, Texas. Belonged to her uncle, the collector. She even sort of hints the place had a reputation.
Okay, a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Maybe. But then Vicky asks this question, just casually drops it in.
What was it?
She asks, your wife, Sarah, she's the one selling that house in Austin, isn't she?
Wait, Austin. But Sarah told Daniel she was working on a property near Cherry Creek in Denver.
Exactly. That's the first crack. Vicky mentions Sarah's been down to the Austin house quite a bit. Oh, and she adds that her brother, Vicky's brother, gave Sarah a ring as a thank you.
A ring? Hold on, Sarah had told Daniel she just found an old ring in her jewelry box.
So now Daniel's standing there trying to process this. The Austin trips, the ring. It just doesn't add up. You can just feel that knot of unease tightening in his stomach.
Yeah, that's not just confusion anymore. That's suspicion.
And that one conversation, that discrepancy, it just snowballs.
Yeah.
He can't shake the feeling something is really wrong. And over the next few weeks, Sarah's behavior gets stranger.
How so?
Well, lots of late nights supposedly at work. Mood swings, like really unpredictable. One minute she's a wife he knows, the next, she's distant, almost unrecognizable.
And the ring. The one Vicky mentioned.
He notices it.
Yeah.
She starts wearing this antique ring. And Daniel connects the dots. The days she wears that ring are the days she seems most absent. Like she's not fully there. It's subtle, but deeply unsettling.
He must be trying to rationalize it, right? Work stress? Something.
Oh, absolutely. He's trying. But the Creekside property story just keeps clashing with reality. He discreetly checks her car's GPS history, and it confirms his fears. Repeated trips. Not to Cherry Creek, but to this rural address outside Austin. An address linked to the Parker estate the name Vicky had mentioned.
Oh boy. So he knows she's lying. What does he do?
He drives there, all the way to Austin. He's battling himself the whole way, Is this paranoia? Or is something really
I
happening?
can't even imagine that drive.
He gets to the estate, locked gates, and he sees her car parked inside.
Okay, confirmation.
But there's another car, too, one he doesn't recognize. A man's car.
Oh.
He just sits there, outside the gates, for an hour. Just watching, thinking, feeling probably everything from anger to fear to just sheer disbelief.
An hour. Wow. Did he confront her then?
No, he leaves. But that trust, that foundation, it's definitely cracked. He heads back home, completely reeling.
And the records, the ones he got from Vicky.
Right. Amidst all this turmoil, he remembers the records. He goes through them and finds one that's different. No label, just plain unmarked wax.
Huh. Weird.
Driven by this need to understand something, anything, he takes it to his office after hours, puts it on that antique record player.
And it's not music, is it?
No, it's a voice. A man's voice. He identifies himself as Jonas Parker, the dead collector.
Very cool.
The uncle.
Hmm.
And he's talking to someone named Jack. Daniel assumes that's meant for him. Parker's talking about the Austin house, saying it sits on only lines, that it has the power to transfer souls.
Transfer souls. Okay, now we're really off the map.
Way off. And then Parker says why. He intends for his lost love, a woman named Annabelle, to return,
No.
using Daniel's wife as the vessel.
So this isn't just an affair he suspected. This is supernatural horror territory. He must have been absolutely freaked out.
Completely shaken. The next day, he goes straight back to Vicky. He has to know, is this some kind of sick prank, a recording her uncle made years ago?
And Vicky says,
Her whole demeanor shifts. She gets very serious. And she tells him, no, it's not a joke.
oh, man.
And then she pulls out something else, an old family tree, the Parker family lineage.
Okay.
She traces it down. Jonas Parker's lost love, Annabelle.
Mm-hmm.
She had a younger sister. And that sister's line leads directly to Sarah Monroe, later Sarah Warren, Daniel's wife. Annabelle Parker's great niece.
So there's a blood connection. That makes it even worse. Like, she was targeted.
That's the chilling implication, isn't it? A potential perfect vessel, Vicky suggests. And then Vicky shows him one more thing. A black and white photo.
Of Annabelle.
A young Annabelle Parker. And Daniel looks at it, and the resemblance to Sarah is uncanny. Like looking at Sarah, but from a different era.
Okay, I think I'd be running for the hills at this point. The recording, the family tree, the photo.
The dread is palpable, and Vicky adds her own fears. She thinks her Uncle Jonas planned all this, and she suspects her brother, Donald.
The owner of the other car at the estate.
That's the one. She thinks Donald might be actively involved, helping carry out this insane plan. The betrayal just keeps getting deeper.
So what does Daniel do? He knows his wife is lying, possibly involved with this Donald guy, and there's this whole soul transfer thing hanging over them.
That weekend, Sarah says she needs to go back to Austin. Again, a final client walkthrough, which sounds fishy, right? She was just there. Daniel asks if he can come along, see this mysterious place.
And she says,
She resists. Not aggressively, but it's clear she doesn't want him there. So he follows her. Again,
God.
he hides in the woods near the estate, watches her arrive. He sees Donald meet her at the door, and it's not professional.
What happens?
He sees them embrace. A kiss. Intimate. Then they go inside together.
So it is an affair, or part of this ritual thing, or both.
It's devastating for Daniel either way.
Yeah.
It's not just the potential infidelity, it's the betrayal of their entire life, the calculated deception woven into this bizarre supernatural plot. It feels like everything is collapsing.
He must go back to Vicky. She seems to be the only one who has any idea what's going on.
He does. He tells her what he saw. And Vicky, she understands how serious this is. She locks the shop door. Like, this conversation isn't leaving this room.
Okay, setting the mood.
She tells him about the ring, the one Sarah's been wearing, the one Donald apparently gave her. It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a tool, a conduit
A conduit for what?
for the ritual. Based on her uncle's notes, the ring is meant to facilitate a bonding. It helps Annabelle's spirit pass into a compatible host,
Into Sarah.
into Sarah. And Vicky explains the truly terrifying part. The longer the host wears the ring, the weaker their own soul becomes, until eventually it's completely replaced by Annabelle's.
So Sarah's soul is literally being erased, pushed out.
That's the horrifying implication. Daniel's wife is being slowly overwritten by this spirit from the past. The stakes are suddenly life and death, not just for the marriage, but for Sarah herself.
What can they even do? This is completely outside normal experience.
Daniel feels desperate. He decides to confide in someone else, his 17-year-old daughter, Claire.
Does he tell her everything? The soul transfer stuff?
He does. He knows Claire's been worried too, noticed her mom acting strangely. He lays it all out, the unbelievable truth.
And Claire's reaction?
No hesitation. She immediately says she'll help, whatever it takes.
That's brave. Okay, so Daniel, Vicky, and Claire, what's the plan?
The next morning, they drive back to the Austin estate. Vicky comes prepared. She's found things in her uncle's notes. A reversal chant, 2 identical rings, maybe countermeasures, and the notes themselves.
Heading back into the lion's den.
Pretty much. They get inside the house, and the atmosphere is just heavy, oppressive. It's dimly lit, shadows everywhere. There's weird old jazz playing on that Victrola.
Sets a creepy scene.
And in the center of the room are Sarah and Donald. They turn around, and Daniel sees it instantly. The woman standing there. It's Sarah's body, but her smile is wrong. Her eyes have this strange light, and her voice. Slow, hypnotic almost. She greets Daniel as Jack.
Jack, the name from the recording.
Exactly. Vicky steps up, tries to address Sarah directly, calls her Annabelle,
Yeah.
tells her to let go.
Does it work?
The response is chilling.
What
Annabelle isn't here, Sarah's voice says, but I'm afraid Sarah doesn't live here anymore.
Oh my God. So Annabelle, or whatever it is, thinks she's won.
It seems like it. It's this incredibly tense standoff. Daniel just looks at Claire. A silent signal passes between them. And then Claire and Vicky start the chant.
The reversal chant Vicky found.
Yeah, their voices are this low hum against the music, and the air in the room changes. You can feel the tension spike. Sarah, or Annabelle, starts to react. Her body jerks. She cries out for them to stop, her voice filled with this unfamiliar rage.
But they keep going.
They keep going. Louder now. The air feels like it's crackling. Sarah screams. And the ring, the antique ring on her finger, it starts to glow. An eerie, unnatural light.
What happens?
Then, sharp crack, the ring breaks apart, and instantly, both Sarah and Donald just collapse, crumple to the floor.
Just like that.
Just like that. Silence. Everyone's holding their breath. Then Sarah's eyes flutter open.
Is it her?
There's clarity there. Then confusion. She looks around, whispers Daniel's name, asks where she is. Her voice is weak, uncertain, but it's her.
Oh, thank goodness.
Claire just bursts into tears, rushes over to her. Sarah holds her, looking completely bewildered. She has no memory. None of the past weeks, the trips, Donald, the mansion, nothing.
She's back, but completely unaware of what happened.
Completely. It's this incredibly emotional reunion, but shadowed by the sheer weirdness and trauma of it all.
What about Donald?
They get Sarah checked out at a hospital. Doctors find nothing physically wrong, of course. How could they? But Donald, he never regained consciousness. The official cause of death was heart failure.
Convenience.
Or perhaps the process, the severing of whatever connection was there, was too much for him. We don't really know.
And Vicky.
She wanted out. Closed the antique shop, sold everything, moved away, put as much distance as possible between herself and her uncle's legacy.
Can't blame her. So what about Sarah and Daniel? How do you even come back from something like that?
It was a long road. Sarah had to heal, obviously, but also grapple with these fragmented memories that started surfacing. Flashes of the manipulation, the seduction by Donald, things done while she wasn't herself, immense regret, confusion, violation. And they had to rebuild trust. Slowly. Painfully.
Daniel had to process the betrayal, the lies, the near loss of his wife in the most unimaginable way.
Absolutely. He had to confront those what-ifs. But ultimately, they chose to stay together, to heal. Those road trips they started taking, maybe in the Chevy, became symbolic of that journey forward.
And the record player?
It stayed in Daniel's office. A silent reminder. Apparently, Sarah would sometimes just look at it, this distant, reflective gaze trying to grasp the edges of the life she almost lost, the time she can't recall.
Wow. What a story. It really makes you think about the characters involved.
Definitely. Daniel, starting as this ordinary guy, finding this incredible strength to fight for his wife against something totally unbelievable. His capacity for forgiveness is pretty remarkable, too.
And Sarah. She's such a tragic figure in this. From a loving wife to this unwitting pawn, her identity suppressed. Then waking up to the aftermath, the confusion, the shame for things she didn't consciously do. It really highlights how vulnerable we can be.
Then there's Jonas Parker. His grief basically twisted into this dangerous obsession, willing to manipulate, to potentially destroy lives, just to get back what he lost. It shows the dark side of holding on to the past.
Vicky, though, she really stepped up. Moved from maybe skepticism about her uncle to realizing the horror and feeling responsible. Her courage was crucial.
Absolutely. And Donald, well, he's a cautionary tale, isn't he? Whether it was loyalty or greed or something else, his complicity led to his own demise.
Even Claire, the daughter, her intuition, her immediate willingness to jump into this terrifying situation to save her mom. That's pretty powerful.
It really is. The whole thing just leaves you with so many questions about love, loss, identity.
Yeah, it definitely makes you ponder. We were thinking maybe some questions for you, the listener, to mull over.
First off, if you were in Daniel's shoes, dealing with the lies, the weird behavior, the impossible recording, at what point would you just think, okay, this is too much, I can't wrap my head around this anymore? When does belief break?
That's a tough one. Second, what about Sarah? Does she bear any moral responsibility for things that happened while she was, for lack of a better term, possessed or influenced by Annabelle? Where does accountability lie when your will isn't your own?
And finally, thinking about Jonas Parker. What does this story really tell us about grief? About the extreme lengths people might go to when facing profound loss, and maybe the ethical lines that can get blurred or just obliterated in that process.
Lots to think about there. It's a story that certainly sticks with you.
It really does.
If the story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube.